the Disney movies with the hearts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David. And today's episode is The Lone Ranger.
The movie, not the TV show.
Yes, from 2013, starring Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp.
I'm so curious to hear what you thought about this movie.
Same goes. It is we'll just start off with the most glaring thing about the movie. It is very long.
It is. It's 2.5 hours, which even by any kind of movie is a long time.
It is a long time.
But yeah, so strap in, buckle up.
There's going to be a lot to this episode, probably.
A lot of good stuff, though.
Yeah, so no history with the film. I have no idea about really anything about it, or even really The Lone Ranger. That's way before my time and yours.
Yeah, because when they started playing the theme song, I was like, wait, is this supposed to be... I'd heard that music before, but I didn't know that it was the Lone Ranger theme song.
So maybe I should back up. I do know the basics. I do know the Lone Ranger, Tonto, Silver. I know the basics of the mask, an Indian, a white horse, and the song. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know anything. So I came into this completely blind. So it was directed by somebody named Gore Verbinski. And it made so much sense because he directed a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And this felt like the style felt very Pirates of the Caribbean, but
it did
different.
But better.
Yeah, definitely a lot better. And he also directed The Ring, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty random. But yeah, obviously they got somebody that Johnny Depp is cool with.
Yeah.
That's probably the most important thing when you're working with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and I have a lot of things to say, but so obviously everybody pretty much knows who Johnny Depp is, and I was kind of expecting his character to just be a complete duplicate of his Pirates of the Caribbean character.
Oh, you mean his Hunter S. Thompson character from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
But it wasn't. So
no, it wasn't.
It was really interesting.
I liked it.
Not
gonna lie.
And then Armie Hammer, I know who he is because he's been in a couple of really notable movies lately. Like some movie last year called Call Me By Your Name, which was all Oscar buzzworthy, some LGBT situation type thing.
I've heard the name. I have no idea who
he is. But that's the only reason I know him is from watching the Oscars. And then the villain who played Butch I kept throughout the whole movie. I was like, I know this guy's face. I've seen him before. I don't know who it is. And it's a gentleman named William Fichtner.
Fichtner.
Yeah,
Fichtner.
Fichtner.
Yeah.
But, I would just describe him as, a character actor.
Oh, yeah, he's been in everything. Everything.
And I was trying to see what I recognized him from, and the only thing is, Armageddon, I guess. But...
He was in Independence Day and Armageddon. Yeah,
but you see him and you're like, oh, I know that guy. He was in that thing.
Yeah, he's been in a million movies, and he's a great character actor. So that was nice. Cole was the other villain, played by some other fellow with the last name of Wilkinson. I don't really know him.
Yeah, no, I didn't look him up because, but I was also kind of like, oh, I've seen that guy before. And then towards the end of the movie, the head of the railway guy, I've definitely seen that guy before.
Okay, so that's actually one of my favorite Easter eggs of this movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's Stephen Root.
I don't know. I've seen him before, but I don't know.
So he was in this TV show called Just Shoot Me in the 90s, but he's been in a million movies. Was he Red Stapler guy from Office Space? Yes,
okay.
Was, yeah.
Okay.
He's so great. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was, and I was like, no, it's not that guy.
Well,
and I was like, wait.
I was like, wow.
It is that guy. Yeah. And then I didn't look up who the chick was.
Oh.
Even though I really liked her.
Yeah, I did too. I looked, I didn't write her name down, but she was good. I didn't recognize her for anything. I guess she's British.
Okay, that kind of, she has that look about her, the Brit look.
The look of her.
Okay, so after watching the movie, this 2.5 hour lengthy movie that I think we both had a lot of reservations going into it, what were your thoughts?
Going in, I thought that this was going to be a horrible movie that was way too long. So It was way too long. But it is not a horrible movie. I really liked it.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because, as we're watching it, I'm watching it and I'm like, why did, because I had heard that people didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out why, and the only thing I can think of is that it's really long.
Right.
But, I really liked it. Like, I'm simplest way I can describe it is I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I am shocked at how much I enjoyed this movie,
Absolutely.
because I was fully expecting to hate it.
I was trying to hate it, and I couldn't.
And I
I mean,
really liked it. This
Yeah.
this might be like the Cinderella story of at the Disney movies.
At least so far, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
I think it's because part of it was definitely a Western.
it was definitely a Western, which
And
I like.
I have always told myself I don't like Westerns. But I'm like watching it, I'm like, maybe I do like Westerns. I don't know, like I really liked it.
I like Westerns when they're done right, and this one was done great. And really, Johnny Depp did an excellent job in this movie. He blew it away.
Except for he's not Native American.
I don't care about that. I don't think that you have to be whatever it is that you're playing. You can play whatever you're playing. That's fine. I don't even
He did do a good job though. He didn't go too over the top.
Yeah, I don't even want to really talk about that because it's not important. Like, he just did a good job being the character he was supposed to be.
I mean, we'll get more into the character specific stuff later, but I don't know. Like, I'm really glad that you liked it, because I was hoping you liked it, because I was sitting there like, oh man, I hope David likes it, because I really liked it. And I was confused because I was totally expecting to hate it. I was ready to like really, really not like it.
Yeah, so was I. Like I said, I was trying not to like it. I was trying to not like it, but I was like, why am I trying not to like this? I like it. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. A lot of fun.
It's just really way too long. Like,
but it's like when you think about it,
no,
there's not really much they could cut out.
No, there was definitely plenty they could cut out. They just needed to kind of wrap things up quicker in every scene.
Maybe we'll see. The movie opens and it's like carnival, like San Francisco, in
1933.
1933. And then like there's a little boy who like goes into some old west exhibit, and old Tonto is there, but he's like a statue, but then he like isn't a statue. That part was a little confusing. I didn't know.
He's like a museum, like a stepped person,
right?
You know, like he's a fake person, but suddenly there's some magic. He starts moving, and he talks to the kid, takes the peanuts from him, eats them whole, which is gross. And he starts telling the kid the story, because he tells the kid never to take the mask off or something like that.
Yeah, and that was like a reoccurring statement throughout the entire movie, was like, never take mask off. And I wrote that down too, because I was like, oh, that's probably going to be important. And then basically throughout the whole movie, it goes back to him in the museum talking to this kid, and it kind of reminded me of how Princess Bride does that.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, it's done in the same way the Princess Bride is done. Like, they cut back to the kid and the grandpa, and this they cut back to Tonto and the little kid that he doesn't know.
Yeah. But the opening scene was like, and the only thing I felt was kind of at the beginning of the movie, I was a little confused as to what was happening and the point of reference for things, because the very beginning of the movie is actually a scene that's later in the movie.
It's almost the end.
It's almost the end of the movie, and then it made sense once it came to the end. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it opens with them like robbing a bank.
Yeah, comedically robbing a bank.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we should point out, this movie's a comedy.
Yes, 100%.
All the way through.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's some serious moments, blah 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 blah, like sad moments, whatever. It's comedy. It is super silly.
Yeah, but it's like, I think it really, I haven't seen the Lone Ranger show, but I as like, especially at the very end, I was like, oh, this is probably what the Lone Ranger show was like. Like,
I don't think so. I think it was really schlocky, serious Western.
I don't know. I've never seen it, so
I think I've seen episodes, and I'm pretty sure that it is serious and not funny. Like,
okay, all right.
It was something that kids took serious as Westerns back in the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden it flashes back in time to 1869 in Colby, Texas.
Which is where the story takes place from here on out, other than the flashbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're on a train, and
they being William Fichtner, the Cavendish character, and Tonto, Johnny Depp.
Right, so...
Oh, and I guess really, John, our Lone Ranger, is on that train as well.
Yeah, so everybody's on the train. Like, everybody's on the train.
Yeah, for real.
But so basically Tonto and Butch, the Fichtner, his character, they're prisoners and they're being held in the car. And then John, who is the Lone Ranger, he's like a passenger with all these like religious people, and they're like singing or doing like church stuff, and he's just sitting there. And he has a picture of some lady in his book that we find out later. But
and he's coming back from law school in the big city. He's coming back to be the district attorney of this Colby town where his brother and father were Texas Rangers.
Yeah, and one of my favorite moments in the whole movie actually happened at the very beginning. He has like some doll, and there's like a little baby sitting across from him, and he's like, "Here, catch!" And then it blows out the window, and the baby starts crying. I don't know why that struck me as so funny, but
it was a good little LOL scene at the beginning, but I wouldn't call it my favorite.
No, it wasn't my favorite. I liked it. It was one of my favorite bits. It was cute.
It was a cute little part. I will give you that.
Oh, but then it like flashed from that to the town because the lady, Rebecca, who we later learn is named Rebecca.
Yeah, that's a really odd point is they don't name that chick until way later in the movie.
And maybe they did and we missed it, but like...
Maybe, but that was annoying to me that they didn't maybe kind of repeat her name.
Well, and that was, I think, just one kind of negative thing about this movie is that at the beginning I was really confused what everyone's names were. Because they didn't really say them.
And what their role was. Like, there was that, like, before the train was getting there, there was that guy who looked kind of like Armie Hammer, and you thought maybe he was going to be the Lone Ranger?
Right.
And it was really confusing. It was like, what am I seeing here?
Right. And but then it all kind of got explained, and it was fine. But yeah, she's, like, at the Colby, Texas area, and she's, like, looking in the little, like, market stalls, and then she, like, buys... It's like a scarf or like a towel or something, like a fine silk.
She doesn't buy it.
Oh, the lady gives it to her.
That's right. Yeah, she's like, "Oh no, it matches your eyes," but that creepy guy comes around and is like, "Oh."
Yeah, because he is like the head of the railroad and.
Well, in that town, he's not the actual head of the railroad.
Right, but he's head of the project. 'Cause the whole thing is they're developing the railroad. Connecting
to San Francisco.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of very obvious that this man like is trying to get with her.
Yeah. Yeah, he's super creepy.
Yeah, and I thought because like Armie Hammer's character John, the Lone Ranger, was looking at her picture on the train, I thought he was married to her.
Well, that would have made sense. That's what kind of confused the entire beginning of the movie.
That was the part that was a little confusing because we don't know that, like, she's actually married to his brother, which we learn a little bit later. But then it goes back to the train, and basically, like, the prisoner who's on the train, who has been established as a very bad guy, he's, like, pulling out something from the floorboards.
A nail.
And I'm like, is he going to stab the guy? Like, is he going to stab... Tonto. Wait. Right? Tonto. Not Toncho. Tonto. Okay, so I didn't know what he was going to do with the nail, but then he pulls up the whole floorboard and there's a gun down there. And so...
You know what I thought was weird about that? Is he could have just used like because his fingers were all bloody.
Yeah.
He could have just used a link from the chain to pull that nail out and it would have been a lot easier.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me being crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, but he... then like grabs a gun and the sheriff guy is back there because he had like a little like sheriff badge or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he like it's like, oh, I gotta take a pee, and then the guy goes up like is holding Butch, the bad guy, like to take a piss, but then Tonto like is like, hey, like he's got a fucking gun, he's gonna get you, and then like some chaos ensues there at that point.
Yeah, he's throwing birdseed at him.
Yeah.
Trying to get his attention.
Yeah, because this whole time he has this, like, dead but not dead crow on top of his head.
It's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tonto's an interesting character. His face is always painted white and black, and he has a dead crow on his head at all times.
Yeah.
That he feeds constantly with birdseed.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like...
It's actually quite... charming, which I really like.
Yeah, I did really like his character quite a bit. And Butch, the bad guy, is gonna like shoot Tonto because he's like, you've been feeding that bird for the past like hour, like so many hours. I hate you. And then Tonto, he does something to where he like, oh no, what happens is John, the
Army
Lone Ranger's
Hammer.
character, like busts in and messes everything up, and then Tonto gets the gun and he's gonna shoot Butch because apparently he's been trying to extract revenge on this guy forever, and then John messes everything up.
Yeah. Yeah. He stops him. He holds Butch hostage, and we get the first little warning that John doesn't like to use a gun.
Which is so weird because it's like, this is like the old West, but I guess he went away to like the big city, and so not like...
He got educated, so he's non-violent now. He's like a little peaceful.
It's like, I have to bring him to court justice.
Yeah. He has to bring him to book justice.
Yeah.
So he empties out the gun, and then all of a sudden, while this is going on, the whole train is being hijacked by outlaws.
Right.
So at that point, then the door opens, the outlaws extract Mr. Cavendish.
Well,
Butch.
First Butch like ties them up or puts them in handcuffs together.
Yeah, he chains them back into the chains that Cavendish and Tonto were in.
Which, like, in real life, he would have just shot both of them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. But then the train is like speeding down because they've like jerry-rigged the the control thing to be like forward, so it like speeds through the town.
Yeah.
And they like get away basically. And then so they're like, the Tonto guy is gonna like get out of the thing, and then he pulls up his chains and he like is stuck to John.
Yeah, he's tied to Army Hammer and he can't get away.
Yeah, but then like there's a whole chase scene, and like the people from the town, like the police or the rangers, I should say, they come, and one of them is John's brother, who we meet, and he comes and basically saves the day with Tonto's help.
Yeah, he's an awesome like action dude, warrior, like he's just bad to the bone.
Yeah. And they like discontinued the front car, so it was going all fast, and like
that was like the big dramatic scene of that, is that Tonto and Dan, John's brother, really got the cars separated so that everybody wouldn't die when the train ran out of track.
Yeah.
And that scene was ridiculous when it's like going off the rails. And
well, yeah, and they get like thrown off the train.
Yeah, Tonto and John get thrown off the train because Dan stays with the cars that are slowing down. Tonto and John are stuck on the cars that are going to go flying off the end of the track because they're still building the track.
Yeah.
It flies off. It kills a couple of the workers. Clearly kills a couple of the workers, which was very interesting for a Disney movie. I mean, this is a PG-13 Disney movie.
It is a PG-13 movie.
So there were actual deaths, which is rather interesting. So it crashes. They're all... and it's kind of like a... What did I write? I wrote that it was a Rube Goldberg crash.
Well, yeah, because then the train is slowly coming towards them, and there's like a spike thing.
No, it was... So what that was is one of the rods that connected the train wheels.
Oh, okay.
It was spinning fast on its side. It blew off. It jumped between them, cutting the chain that held them together.
Yeah.
And then it stuck out past them. When the train is sliding across the dirt towards them to squish them and kill them, it stops that, and there they are.
And then they're safe.
Oh, yeah. Here we just crashed this train, and we're totally fine. No big deal.
Yeah. And then Tonto's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go get this guy. And then John's like, no, I got to take you in. You were still a criminal, even though he's the one that saved everybody, because he, like, got under the train and, like...
Not only that, he had no idea what he was charged with.
Yeah,
he had no
he was
idea.
just
He
like...
just knew that he was a dude in handcuffs. That's it.
Well, and I'm sure there was some, like, Native American prejudice there, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, so John's brother stops them as John is trying to stop Tonto.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, hey, little brother.
Yeah, and he's like, so what was your crime? And he goes, Indian.
He was on that train for a reason, Dan.
Probably. What's your crime, boy?
Indian. man in the eyes of the law. Throw me your cuffs.
Like, his only crime was that he was an Indian.
Yeah, which is, I mean, really
Probably
sad,
true.
but probably true. And so...
Then we go back to town with Tonto going to jail.
Right.
John has a super awkward interaction with his brother's wife.
But it's clear that they're in love with each other.
Okay, yeah.
Or at least that he loves her. Lily!
So it's clear, we'll just say, yeah, in love. We'll just euphemistically call it that they're in love.
Here's the thing that and I don't know if this was later in the movie, but that I'm thinking about it, I'll just bring it up now, but like, so were they like a thing and then he left to go to law school and then his brother swooped in and married her? Or like, was it just one of those things where they were like friends and then like, but they kind of liked each other?
Or was it one of those things where she was kind of, getting with both of them and then he left? Like,
I don't know. And that's what was kind of confusing. But then, like, his brother and all the Rangers are going to go and track down Butch. And they're getting ready to leave. And then one of the guys on the horses is like, oh, it's just like old times. And he watches, like, his brother interacting with his wife. And he's like, oh, hey, you should come with us. Because he's like, I don't want to leave you here with my wife.
I was like, after visible awkwardness with his wife, they deputized John as a ranger.
Yeah.
As a Texas Ranger. It's like, this is really weird. Like, who... It really does seem like Dan kind of stole her away, but maybe not. Like,
that's the impression that I got.
But Dan is the better brother, so it's weird. Like,
there's a weird dynamic for sure.
And it's very much not explained.
No.
But so they go riding out looking for Butch. Dan and
led
John,
by a drunk guy.
Led by a drunk guy named Collins.
Right.
Dan and John are kind of jocking each other, getting each other's goat while we're out there. John still will not take a gun.
Right? Like, yeah, because it's before they're going to go into the canyon and they send Collins ahead. They're like, hey, go check it out.
And
or he's like, I'll go check it out or whatever.
And he doesn't come out.
And he doesn't come back. So he's like, here, take this gun. He's like, I don't believe in guns. And I'm like...
Yeah, which is like, are you kidding me? This movie is supposed to take place in 1869. That guy didn't exist. Like, that's more of a 60s kind of guy or something.
Yeah. And I mean... Okay, we all know what's going to happen. Like, you could tell what was going to happen. And I actually really enjoyed this scene a lot. Like, not because a bunch of people died, but I just thought it was throughout the whole movie, I kept thinking, like, the cinematography was really good. And, like, the background was really beautiful. And, like, this particular scene, I was like, oh, this is a really cool, like, well-shot scene.
So, as much as I like this movie, it was super predictable all the way through.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they ride into a gigantic ambush. Butch's crew kills every single Texas Ranger.
And they think they kill John.
And they essentially do kill John. Dan is still kind of like half alive. Butch comes, and Dan and John are together because Dan came back to save John and got shot.
And Dan is John's brother.
Dan, well, we established that. I guess... So it turns out that Butch and Dan have history. Butch exacts his revenge by cutting Dan's heart out while he's still alive, which John sees.
But he's smart, and he keeps his eyes closed.
Yeah, he's keeping his eyes closed because he's gravely injured, and he also doesn't want to get killed. It's implied.
Yeah.
It's like one of the only smart things John ever does.
Yeah, he's kind of.
It's kind of against his character to have done that. Actually, that to me was a little weird.
But then the drunk guy comes over and he's like, so he set them up basically, and he's like,
right. He puked while he was watching that guy cut his heart out. And really, Butch's entire crew was horrified at him cutting his heart out. It was kind of a good scene.
And so he takes the necklace that
Dan was
wearing. He's like, oh, the deal's off now that you're dead. And so then it's like, ooh, what does that mean? Let's find out.
But before Dan had died, while he was shot, before John got shot, he said to John that about his wife, she always loved you. Take care of her for me.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So, really, he was telling his brother to go to the Bone Zone, get it in, take his wife, which maybe was already his in the first place. Like,
yeah.
He was like, you go get it, son. And so he had a free open slate. That was like his brother's last words. Like, that's what he wanted.
Yeah. That is true. But then, like, Tonto shows up. And they don't explain. Somehow. They don't explain how. They never explain how he got out of jail, and it was kind of. And it flashes back to the kid, and the kid's like, "Wait, how'd you get out of jail?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it," basically.
Yeah, but I mean, it's clear that Tonto's smarter than everybody else, and without John or anybody else around, he must have easily outsmarted the jailer in that stupid town.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. So, and for some reason, he buries all of the Texas Rangers. That, to me, was one of the strangest parts.
But it's really not, though, because, like, it's kind of, like, it's explained... It's kind of explained later in the movie, like, he has somewhat of a moral compass. And because he was taking their valuables, he was, like, giving them things, and I think it was, like, almost to make himself feel less crappy about what he was doing.
That doesn't mean he had to dig them all graves, though.
But it's like back in that day, like having a proper burial was like a big thing, especially with Native Americans.
Yeah, but don't you think the townspeople would have wanted those people back to bury them where they belong?
That's like, true. But maybe he didn't want people to know that
weird.
He took their valuables.
It did seem a little like that, but okay, fair enough. So all those guys are dead. All the Rangers are dead. This, to me, was one of the parts... That whole beginning part was a little bit where they could have done a lot of cutting and it would have made sense. Maybe. Because then we go on to where we are introduced to Silver, the horse, although he's not called Silver. He's just some spirit horse.
Yeah.
Who, I guess, gets to pick who gets reanimated.
Yeah.
He keeps going to John, who is at this point, quote unquote, dead.
Well, because he like woke up and then Tonto hit him over the head with a rock. He's like, no, you're dead.
Yeah, which was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. I really did like that.
Yeah, I know. You laughed at that part.
Yeah, I did. And he was going to get a shovel to actually like really put him down when Spirit... He kept dragging Spirit back over to Dan to have him be the one woken up. Spirit kept going straight back to John and like shaking his head like, no.
He's the right one.
It's John.
Greetings, noble spirit horse. No, please. You make mistake. Half-wit. Wet brain. You come. Come. Him, great warrior. Spirit horse. You have traveled far. Obviously very fatigued. I understand. You come. Come. Him strong brother. Want him, bring him back.
Okay, so Spirit chooses John. Tonto finally accepts that. He like ties John's feet to the back of the horse and they start dragging him through the desert.
He gets dragged through horse poop.
Yeah, there is the obligatory, for some reason, obligatory poop scene where the horse poops all over the ground and they drag John's head through the poop. And then so John then wakes up on this giant platform, like scratches his head because his head hurts because it's been bouncing off the ground. And then he smells his hand like, oh no, it smells like poop. It's like this dumb joke in the middle, of this movie. I guess. It just reminded me of the Santa Claus 3 with the stupid farting reindeer.
No, poop is always funny.
I agree, but I was just like, nah, we could have done better than that.
But, like, it didn't really explain why he was on this tower, because then all of a sudden he's, like, down.
So, that tower thing, like, I don't think they built them that big, because that was, like, as big as a cell phone tower.
It was really big.
But they used, that's how certain Indian tribes, I don't know which one, I'm way too ignorant for that, would bury their dead is by putting them up on wooden things like that. Wooden little towers. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they would. That's how they would. That was their kind of graves, was putting them up and out, not down and in.
Yeah.
So that to me made some sense.
Okay, so I didn't know that, so it didn't make sense to me because, like, he was in there, he was on the tower, and then all of a sudden he wasn't.
Well, clearly he climbed down somehow, which seemed completely impossible because he was like on the. Not only was he on the top of that tower,
yeah,
but it was also on top of this giant rock formation that was basically straight up and down,
and it was like kind of wobbling, and I'm like, oh, this is bad. But
yeah,
but then he just was down, so I was like, oh, okay.
Well, no, I'm glad they didn't need to show him get down. Like, that's where the cutting.
I bet you that they did have a scene where he was climbing down that thing and they cut it.
I also
bet you
guarantee you that they did too. Like, it's clear that even though this movie is insanely long, that they probably filmed a whole lot more.
But basically, he goes back to the campsite and finds Tonto, and Tonto's just really unimpressed with him.
It says you are a spirit walker, a man who has been to the other side and returned, a man who cannot be killed in battle. Of course, definitely stupid.
He's like, oh, I should have. The horse chose you, but really your brother was a strong warrior. And
he would have been a better candidate.
Yeah. And Tonto's like, well, you have to help me now. And John's like, no, I don't want to help you. I'm going to go back to town and blah, blah, blah.
Right. This is where we find out that Tonto is a Wendigo hunter, which is some kind of evil spirit thing that he's hunting, which turns out to be Cavendish or Butch or however you want to call him.
Yeah.
William Fichtner.
Fichtner Bush.
Yeah, Fichtner Bush.
But then he's like, oh yeah, and your friend Collins, and he tells him like, oh yeah, he betrayed you. He's like, oh, 8 men went into the cavern and I dug 7 graves or whatever. And then that's when John realizes that, oh, he betrayed us. So then he decides he's going to help Tonto.
And then Tonto gives John a mask made from his brother's jacket.
Yeah.
Where bullet holes were shot into the jacket that made the eyes of the mask.
Yeah.
Which was just great. It was whatever. So that kind of wraps up, and then they go to this wacky house. Like,
well, yeah, because earlier Collins had like a flyer from Red's Saloon or whatever, and that's why they go there, because they're hoping to find the Collins guy.
Yeah, they're looking for him, but that place was super wacky, super funny. I really liked.
I like that part
scene.
too,
yeah.
And like Helena Bonham Carter, and she was like in the very beginning flashback bank robbery scene, and I was like, oh, Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp. That makes there they go again.
I don't remember from that scene, but yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. I was like, oh, he's just really comfortable acting with her, and at first I was trying to let it bump me, but it didn't.
Yeah, no, she didn't do like her usual whatever, but
no, actually, she was quite different than her usual shtick. Like, it was refreshing.
And she's like the madam of the house, and with her huge boobs hanging out everywhere,
as she does.
But then she like has no leg. She like it's made of ivory and has like tattoos all over it. And it has a gun inside of it.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, and but then we realize that like Butch took her leg or something.
Yeah, we find out that through we don't find out why, but for some reason Cavendish, Butch, whatever you want to call him, took her leg, and she wants to help them.
Yeah.
But on their way in, there's like this kind of like Christian people's like thing outside of the brothel, I guess we should
and
probably
they do not
call
like Native
it.
Americans.
Well, not only that, they also don't like brothels.
Yeah.
But they see Tonto going in and they're like, oh, there's a abomination or savage or something.
Yeah.
I'm afraid we're going to have to bring a little visit to close. Some of my clientele don't take kindly to an Indian on the premises.
He has as much right to be here as anyone else.
Not since the Comanche violated the treaty.
Treaty?
You didn't hear? They've been raiding settlements up and down the river.
Oh my God. Rebecca.
And all of a sudden they build up a lynch mob, so John and Tonto have to run.
Yep.
So Silver comes.
Yeah, and he's like on the roof of the.
No. That's later.
Oh, wait. That's right.
Yeah, you're getting your scenes confused.
Sorry, but yeah, Silver comes and they're being chased and they get away, and then it like goes. Once they get away, it goes to a scene where like back to Rebecca and she's on her little farm or whatever, ranch.
Well, and right before that, there was a little whispers of, didn't you hear that the Indians have been attacking settlements along the river?
Right, yeah.
And then we cut to Rebecca.
Oh, but wait. So before that, we actually get a hint to the whole crux of the whole story, because Helena Bonham Carter's character, Red, her name is Red.
Oh, okay.
She's like, that like somehow pulls out like the bag that has the rock in it, and Tonto's like, don't touch that, it's cursed.
Yeah.
And then John touches it because he's dumb.
It's just
and
silver.
It's just silver, but he gets visions of like bad things happening to Rebecca.
The future, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Rebecca's ranch.
Back to Rebecca's ranch. She has a slave, which is really awkward. What's that?
He dies.
Yeah. The quote unquote Indians attack, kill the slave guy, which is not probably really what he is, but really actually is what he is.
Probably wasn't necessary. Like, it could have just been her and her son.
Yeah, he's building they're building a fence along the river, which is insane. Just that's not going to keep anyone out or anything in.
No, and like, so we don't know exactly what happened, but then John and Tonto show up and like everything is burned down at their house, but then like somebody's in the barn.
Yeah.
And
they hear a scream.
They think it's her, but it's like the housemaid person. And one of the bandits who's like dressed like an Indian, but he's also dressed like a woman because apparently he's like a cross-dresser.
And he's he's like a freak boy. Like, I don't know what else to call him, because he's like really maybe he's like early trans, like it's hard to say. But he's always like sucking on a little braid that he has from his hair.
Yeah, no, I think he's just supposed to be kind of a weirdo, but like I don't think he's supposed to be trans. I don't think that's what it is.
And he's one of my favorite characters.
I think he's just supposed to be like a cross-dresser.
Because
I think he just likes to wear women's clothes.
I find him hilarious. I really like that part of the movie.
And he's like trying to role play with this freaked out like maid lady. He's like, "Ooh, I like the turquoise dress," and he's crazy.
This one's nice, ain't it? I love me some aquamarine. This ain't what it looks like, mister. I just like them pretty things.
It was aquamarine.
Yeah, aquamarine. Right. Then Tonto and John go in there and like, John's like, "No, I can't kill him still."
Yeah.
And then they have to get away, and this is where the horse is on the roof.
The freak guy runs away. Alerts the other two guys. They set the building on fire, so there's no escape for Tonto and John. And somehow they climb to the roof, which is really unexplained. They get on
It's like
Silver,
through a chimney or something.
but it wasn't clear that they even climbed that, but I guess they probably did.
Yeah.
Silver jumps off the roof.
And then they get away. That's all that happens. Because
No. They're confronted by those guys. John is out with his gun, like, "Oh, I haven't fired a gun in 9 years."
Yeah.
Tonto's like, "Oh, I wouldn't say that." So then he fires a shot, which is once again
right.
a Rube Goldberg shot.
Yeah.
That bounces off this, that, the other thing, and knocks this cross member down on top of those two guys and kills them.
Right.
Not the freak guy, but the other two guys that were there. So they're dead. The freak guy gets away.
Right, because then he goes and turns into the bandit camp with Butch, and they have Rebecca and her son Danny. And then the guy comes there, and he's like, there's a Lone Ranger, and like, blah, 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 one of them survived. And he's thinking that it's, like, the super heroic brother, like, come back to life, but it's not.
Yeah. Oh, it's the ghost of Dan Reed. Yeah, no, it's not. It's just John.
Yeah. And then in real life, like, I don't know why they're keeping this lady and this boy alive. That made no sense to me.
Oh, yeah, they would have killed both of them long ago.
I mean, but then I was thinking, well, maybe they're bringing them back for that Cole guy.
He may have actually... So that is what makes sense, is that eventually that would be why they kept him alive.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they send that Collins guy, who is the guy that set up the ambush, to kill...
So they really didn't want to keep them alive. So that's why I was kind of like, that whole part didn't really make sense.
There's, we'll give them that one. And he fake shoots them.
And tells them to run, but then...
Run. They run, the chick, like, falls and knocks herself out, and Danny, the boy's like, oh, mom, blah, blah, blah. And some dude, like, it's not clear, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be just Butch.
Well, no, I think it was Cole.
Oh, maybe it could have been Cole.
Yeah.
Shoots the Collins guy, and then, oh, you know what? You're right, it is Cole.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
okay. So he shoots the Collins guy.
He dies, and then that like changes.
He saves them.
John, in the meantime, like, they're following a horse into the desert. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because they don't know where they're going, and Tonto's like, we're going to follow the horse. And then, like, the horse dies.
Horse is dead.
And then John's like, I hate you. Like, you're falling into nowhere. But then John gets shot with an arrow, and they get captured by the Indians.
In the meantime, during that scene, Tonto discovers a train track.
Oh, right, yeah. He discovers the rail track.
Yeah. At that point, it was very clear that this whole movie is a plot about building railroad through Indian country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then so we know that the Indians weren't the ones attacking all the little settlements, but it was the bandits, like, making people think that it was the Indians.
Well, yeah, because they were dressed as Indians.
Right, and so that's when the Cole guy is like, oh, any treaties are void now.
Right, well, and at this point in time, also, Tonto and John are taken captive by the Comanche.
Like, the Comanche, like, leaders take John into their little hut, and they're talking to him about Tonto. And then it's the whole flashback scene of when Tonto was a child, and kind of explains exactly why he is destined to kill Butch, basically.
Well, Butch and the other guy. So it was.
And they don't explain who the other guy is.
But it's Cole.
No, it's Cole. You know who that is at the end, but I'm saying right then you don't know that it's Cole.
Yeah, you don't know.
Which, yeah, that was really good. I like that part.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. The whole Indian scene was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, because then he basically, like, as a child, like, shows them where the silver is.
Yeah, he shows them this mother lode of silver. He sells his entire tribe out for a watch. Cole and Butch kill his entire village.
Except for not him, which didn't really make sense.
I think he may have been hidden or something. He was away from the tribe at the time. So he killed his whole tribe for a watch that he always carries. So it kind of reminded me of the Paco kid from Herbie Goes Bananas.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
It's like, oh yeah, look at this little enterprising little bastard.
But yeah, no, I did enjoy that flashback scene. I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it was depressing, but, like,
it was a good scene.
It was a good scene because it kind of explained his whole thing, and they were, like, basically saying, like, oh, he makes a bunch of stuff up, and he's a reject of the tribe.
Well, and he's crazy. He's not to be trusted. Yada yada yada.
And then John's like, oh, okay. But then they bury John and Tonto up to their necks in, like, dirt and rocks and sand, and then, like, the American cavalry comes through and, like, passes them, and then John's like, oh, I thought they would stop. And then there's a part that I really did not like. This part, it made me so uncomfortable. There's, like,
the scorpions?
Yes, it was so gross because there's these scorpions coming and they start crawling on their faces, and I don't like that part.
And Silver licks the scorpions off of John's face. And John has Silver pull him out, and he leaves Tonto there. I mean, what the f*** is that all about?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I was so mad at that point.
Yeah, he's, like, believing the Indians, but then he comes back.
He does come back, but still, what, like, the lack of character growth from John is the other downside of this movie. Like,
well, I don't know, because there is character growth at the end, though, because he drops his whole moral code.
Right, but it takes way too long.
It does.
Yeah. It's so... His lack of trust for Tonto and his lack of respect for Tonto and how long it takes for him to just develop is so dumb. That part was one of the parts of where I felt like it could have helped shorten the movie to not do that so much. To like, let's have some trust form a little sooner. Like, this dude is helping you at every turn. You're an idiot.
But then he comes back, and it doesn't really say why he... I mean, maybe they did say why he comes back, but he comes back and he's like, oh, we gotta, like, stop them. And then they go and...
Well, he comes back, I guess, because he feels bad.
Yeah.
Which he should.
The next scene I kind of forgot about till I'm reading through my notes. The next part I actually really, really enjoyed because it flashes, or not flashes, but it goes to where Butch is like running, like they're excavating all the silver, and like the American cavalry is there, and...
Scraps? Yeah. Think I waited 20 years? For scraps! I'm taking all! Every damn piece! Now get in there before I put a hole in you!
Then people are like, oh, we're not going to go in the cave. Like, there's Indian spirits in there.
The Chinese people who are building the railroads, which I found really weird that in the beginning scene with the runaway train, there were no Chinese people. It was all white guys building the train.
Well, white and black guys.
All of a sudden, here, there's a bunch of Chinese guys building trains. I was like, okay.
But even though I think that's historically accurate, I think it was a bunch of Chinese and Japanese people that were building the railroad.
You know what? It was. And I'm wondering, actually, if it was a bunch of Chinese people who built the railroad coming from San Francisco east, and then a bunch of white and black guys building it from New York.
That's probably
west.
true, and it probably is accurate.
More accurate. Yeah, that's fair.
The way that they did it, but then the spirits that are in the cave are actually just John and Tonto, which I really enjoyed that part a lot.
It was a very fun part
because they like send somebody in there and they just send like a mine cart back out and it has dynamite in it.
Oh, it wasn't just somebody; it was the freak boy. They sent the freak boy in.
Yeah. And then they blow up the whole mine cart, and...
First, Butch puts down the labor protest by shooting that Chinese guy in the chest.
Right, yeah. And he's
like anybody else want to negotiate?
And they're like, they don't speak English. And he's like, I think they understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get them out, and...
And John still stops. So after they send out the dynamite, they capture Butch Cavendish.
Right.
And John still... will not kill him and will not let Tonto kill him.
Okay.
It's exhausting. That is the part that's really, really exhausting. Like, are you kidding me? That dude killed his brother. He watched him gut him and cut his heart out. He's definitely going to kill him. Like, there is no way. There is nobody that enlightened that's not going to kill that guy.
Yeah.
But yet, he doesn't kill him. He captures him. He ties him up with a rope and takes off, him and Silver, with Tonto knocked out because Tonto was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And he takes off across the desert with that dude tied up.
And abandons Tonto again.
Yeah, which is just...
But he takes the guy back to, like, the railway headquarter area, and then, like, Rebecca and Danny are there, but he doesn't know that they're there. And he's, like, eating dinner with Cole, the guy, and it's kind of like this unveiling of, oh, Cole's been like partnering with this Butch guy the whole time.
Yeah. And
he kind of figures it out, and like Rebecca and her son are like in the supply car. This is where I kind of was like, oh, so she's kind of like an actual good female character, because she like takes control and like gives her son the gun, and she's like, oh, just like keep your gun on him, and she's like crawling along the side of the car, and I was like, oh, she's actually like doing stuff. Yeah, she got action adventure-y right there. Like, she was swinging between cars on the outside and like pulling it together. Yeah. Then the train stops. Well, they all go in the supply car. They all end up back in the supply car, including like John, and Cole is there, and Rebecca and her son, and then the cavalry guy comes in. But John delivers Cavendish first. Right, yeah. He has him in the car. I guess it's not really important. So yeah, the cavalry
Cole, Cavendish, John, Danny, Rebecca all end up in the supply car.
Yeah, and then the cavalry guy is like basically the head of like the American military or whatever
In that area.
in that area, and he's like pointing the gun, like he's not really sure like who to point the gun at, and the whole railroad guy is like, oh, like, do you want people to know that you shot all of those Indians for no reason?
Yeah, that you slaughtered a bunch of innocent people. So he takes Cole's side. They take John out to have him executed, basically.
Yeah, and then this part, like, yeah, they take him to have him executed, and I like this scene because I thought this was, like, really visually, like, a really cool scene, but it was really sad because, like, all the like, Native Americans are coming down, and they just get massacred because the cavalry has all of these, like, machine gun type, not machine guns, but, like...
They're machine guns. They're just hand-cranked machine guns.
And they just get annihilated.
Yeah, they're all, like, really everybody gets annihilated because at the very beginning... Like, they shoot half of the other guys with arrows, and it just was unnecessary for all those people to die.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, and it was the cavalry guy that was leading it, and I'm like, oh, you're the biggest, like, piece of crap in this entire movie, because you're just killing all these innocent people.
Right, and for some reason that character persisted all the way until the end of the movie, which, to me, didn't make any sense. That guy didn't bring anything other than killing. That was somebody that could have been cut, and... scenes that could have been cut.
And so, but this whole thing leads to, like, 'cause John and Tonto get tossed down into some cave or something.
Yeah, after John is saved from the firing squad. And we also get a little scene of the big man Cole getting rough and tumbly with the chick and the boy, like, hitting them. Like, oh, this guy's a real man. Yes. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. But, and this is where John decides he doesn't have a moral code because he's like, oh, like, it means nothing. Like, honor means nothing. Justice means nothing. Because he just saw this guy slaughter all these innocent Native Americans. And granted, they were coming down the hill to kill all these people because they were mad.
But he realized that it was all just a huge plot just to get the railroad built through Indian territory rather than around Indian territory.
Yeah.
And then after the kerosene bomb, John finally has his breakthrough, which is like 8 scenes coming.
And then it goes forward to the scene that was essentially at the very beginning of the movie, where they're robbing the bank, and it's like the celebration of the railroad.
Right, they give Cole the gold watch. He's like, oh no, you don't. I actually took over this whole company. Screw you guys.
Yeah, he's like, I'm worth this much money because those cars all have silver and blah, blah, blah. And he shoots the actual CEO of the railroad. And he's like, oh, does anybody want to vote for me now? And they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we find out the bank robbery is for them to steal nitroglycerin,
not
which is
money,
explosives.
Because they strap it all to the bottom of the railroad bridge.
And a little bit in town to start the chaos of stealing the railway.
So then, basically...
And all these scenes in here is where we get the excellent Stephen Root little, I would almost...
That's what?
Cameo. The Stephen Root cameo.
I don't know why you whispered that.
Because you're going to cut that part.
No. Maybe not.
No, definitely.
Leave it in.
No. Okay, so the Stephen Root cameo.
Yes.
Throughout those scenes is where he is, and he really steals a lot of those scenes in just very subtle tone.
Yeah, because that's where I was like, is that the Office guy? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like him. But then, basically, almost to the rest of the movie is basically the climax, the end of the movie, where. Like, there was so much happening that I couldn't even write it all down because there was so much happening, and it was a really great scene. Like, I really liked it.
We took 2 different tacks in this. Really, honestly, right at the beginning of the train scene, I just wrote wackadoodle action train ending. Because that's what it was.
Yeah,
and I knew at that point I couldn't take any more notes. But it was way earlier than I thought it was going to be. Like,
yeah, because it was a long scene.
On forever.
But, like, it was really good, though. Like, it didn't feel like it dragged. There was just a lot happening.
I think for me, it dragged a little. They could have cut quite a bit of it down, and it would have been just as good.
Yeah, like I wrote, train antics.
Yeah, it's just wackadoodle train antics. That's a great way to put it.
But basically, like, at some point, Rebecca gets, like, thrown off the train onto the horse.
Yeah, Silver's there to save her right away.
And then, like, John jumps off and he's on there and she, like, slaps him. But then she kisses him.
Yeah. Well, that's just school wackadoodle
Western
chick dude
thing.
kind of thing. Yeah. And Silver is basically a magic horse.
Yeah.
Which we don't.
Well, and this is kind of where this scene up until the very end, I was like, oh, this feels like a Western now. Like, and not like that, but this feels like probably what the TV show felt like. Because they threw in the theme song and they threw in, like, some crazy antics and, you know, all the bad guys get it and, like, all the silver gets knocked off into the river with the coal guy and they save the day and everyone's happy.
Right. The only problem I had with that scene is why there were ever two basically parallel tracks that they split off. Like,
I don't know.
They would never build two parallel tracks that were like 80 feet apart from each other. It just did not make any sense. It was.
Well, it made sense for this movie. That's what they had to do.
Well,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
It made sense for the scene, but it just didn't make sense for life. I'm just like, what in the hell? Fine.
But this, I mean, it was a long sequence, but I enjoyed it. I liked it.
It was fine. It was fine.
But then it's over, and like the head, the Root guy, whatever his name is,
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root is like trying to give the Lone Ranger, like, oh, take off your mask now, and he gives him some sort of award, and he opens it, but you don't see what it is. And he closes it, and he's like, no, I'm good. And he's just going to go be an outlaw.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'm leaving now. And Rebecca's like, oh, you know where to find us. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you guys just aren't going to get together now. You're just going to go be an outlaw.
Yeah, he doesn't go to the Bone Zone. He doesn't fulfill his brother's final wish. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like,
Can't stay.
I know. But if that badge ever starts to weigh on you, well, you know where to find us.
Train's headed west. There's nothing holding you here anymore.
It's my home.
that's all that dude's ever wanted is to, like, settle down and get it in right there. And he doesn't do it. It's just like, that to me is one of the other glaring flaws in the movie is like, that guy should be there or wherever he wants to take that broad and be getting it in for the rest of his life. Like,
because she can handle herself. I mean, she can.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and that's like the end of the movie. And then him and Tonto just ride off into the sunset. And he, like...
Maybe he finds out he loves Tonto more. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. And he's like, I'm naming the horse Silver. And then he's like, away, Silver, and does some cheesy Western thing.
No, so that Hi-Ho Silver Away is like one of the taglines for the Lone Ranger.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, oh, that's what Tonto says. Yeah.
Because I think that might have been in like every episode of
oh, okay, gotcha.
Hi-Ho Silver! Away!
Don't ever do that again.
Sorry.
And that's the end of the movie. I mean, this was a long movie, but like, so out of all of the possible scenes in this movie, what was your favorite part?
I had a few because how could you not?
Yeah.
I really liked the brothel scene a lot.
Yeah.
I really liked the scene, the whole chunk with the Indians a lot.
Yeah.
And I also liked the freak boy a lot. Like, that was just, to me, that was such a random, but somehow super accurate character.
Yeah.
That nobody ever really talks about in history because it's uncomfortable for everybody. But if you've ever been in a small town, especially like in the West, that guy exists. And it's very uncomfortable.
So we had like completely different favorite scenes, which is always fun. Like I can't decide, so I really liked. I think it was just the cinematography, but I liked the canyon scene towards the beginning where they got ambushed. Like I enjoyed that scene a lot.
So that was a good scene. It surprises me that you like that because it was such a classic Old West scene.
Oh, right, and that's why I was like, oh, maybe I do like westerns. Like I really enjoyed that, and then I really enjoyed the scene kind of more towards the end, but where they're in the cave and they're like killing all the people, and then they send out the mine cart with the dynamite, and like that whole sequence, I really enjoyed that. And then I really liked the end, like the end scene too. So it was hard to pick a favorite.
That's fair.
But yeah, it was really good. And really the only song in this entire movie is the Lone Ranger theme song.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, it's extremely memorable. It gets stuck in my head in the middle of the week, probably like 3 weeks a year. It's very basic, but super sticky. So
yeah, what did you think about like the cinematography and the way the movie was shot? And
it was great. It was really
good.
There were certain scenes that were really creative, really interesting, like when Tonto was under the train. That was really cool, but a lot of it was really filmed like a classic Western, which I enjoyed.
And parts of it did feel like Pirates of the Caribbean, like, so that's why it made sense when I saw the guy who directed it, and I was like, oh, it made sense, because it had certain aspects that I'm like, oh, that was filmed similarly to how Pirates was filmed.
So, here's a spoiler. I've only seen one Pirates of the Caribbean, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And in my head, I do not like Pirates of the
Caribbean.
But
you might like it more when we watch it. Like,
right. So, that might change, but going in...
Because I actually kind of like the first one.
I don't like Pirates of the Caribbean, so it surprises me.
There were a lot of cool scenes with like lighting and like the setting, like in the Old West. It was in Texas or whatever, but it really reminded me of where my parents live now, and it was just I thought it was just really cool and really well done, and they had a lot of really cool long shots, and I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's fair. It's a fair assessment.
So basically the two main characters, you have John, the Lone Ranger, and you have Tonto.
I added Rebecca, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's more of like a side lady.
Side piece.
Side character. But yeah, and like John's character, I don't know what the Lone Ranger is supposed to be like on the TV show. Like, he kind of was like kind of a preppy wimp at the beginning, but then he kind of figures out who he is and becomes like a hero or whatever.
Not gonna lie, did not enjoy his character throughout.
But I mean, it's kind of like, oh, I've been living in the shadow of my brother or whatever, and then he has to kind of like step up, do what he's got to do.
But did he? I don't know. He really, I don't know. I just didn't. I really could have used him waking up 3 scenes earlier.
I know. And then Tonto, like, I really did think he was going to be more like his Johnny Depp character in Pirates of the Caribbean, which can get kind of a lot. And, like, it was just really good. Like, I really liked his character.
Yeah, it was actually, he had not a ton of speaking, a lot of being on screen, and when he did speak, it really hit hard. Like, and that's what made that character good, is, like, the points he picked, the way he did it, it hit very hard, and it made the movie.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, it really made the movie. Like, his part... his acting, his voice made the movie.
No, it was really good. I really liked it. And then as far as the villains, I thought that Butch, he was an excellent villain. Like, he's like typical like Western, grody, gross, like...
Yeah, he was very gross.
But like, he did a really good job.
Yeah,
like,
he did great. That Fichtner guy, in any movie you see him in, he's usually a very memorable character, and he pulled it off again right here.
Yeah, and as far as the guy who plays Cole, he did really good too. Just how it all came together was really, really fun. It was a really good movie.
Yeah, to me the only really sidekick that stood out though is the Stephen Root guy stealing the end of the movie.
I mean, yes, but I also like, to me, Rebecca is a side character, and there were a number of moments where I was like, oh, she actually like isn't just some wispy female, which is kind of what I thought she was going to be at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, she like did stuff.
She did, and see, that's why I consider her more of a main character. She really did do a great job, and
yeah, she's like shooting people and hanging on the side of a train and like trying to knock people out.
She was like kind of like just cute and demure, and she had a lot of range. It was a well done kind of character.
The story overall, like, I really enjoyed the whole story, how they tied everything together, where it was about, like, the Native American land and the silver, and, like, how they tied in Tonto's childhood to the current, what was happening, and, like, it was really good. Like, I didn't exactly know what was going to happen.
It was a very classic story. Way too much. Like,
it was a lot. There's a lot happening. It was really long.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what was so confusing, because I was like, I knew the movie felt long, because 2.5 hours is just a long time.
Yeah.
Like, and it felt as short as it could possibly feel for a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, it really did. It really did.
Which is saying a lot.
Yeah, I will give it this. It did not drag. Like, as long and terribly long as it was, and they could have done lots of cutting, it still didn't drag.
Yeah, no, I really liked the story. I liked it. And I mean, as far as an overall message, I don't really know that
we learned a lot, because it doesn't really seem, even at the end, that Armie Hammer was ever going to trust Tonto, because he's a...
No, probably not.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's maybe like a hero's tale, maybe a tale of bad trades, because that was a theme. But yeah, I don't think we're going to find a ton of messages in a lot of these Disney films. Maybe some.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we'll take that part out.
Yeah.
But...
No. We definitely shouldn't take it out. Because in some movies it's really important, in some it's just not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, it's just like a classic hero's Western tale.
Yeah. That's the message. As far as final thoughts go, it really beat my expectations.
I'm shocked.
It really beat me. Yeah, I was
That's
very
the one
surprised.
word that I can use to describe it.
Oh my god, does it need editing and cut down?
See, I don't know. That's the thing I think I disagree on, because every single scene was something that was important to the overall plot and of the story.
But if you just made every single scene 10% shorter, you could have got it down to 2 hours.
I don't know. I really liked it.
And it would not have been quite as much of a slog.
I didn't feel like it was a slog.
I did feel like it was kind of a slog, and they could have made it 2 hours, and it would have been a really good movie.
I'm so puzzled. And, like, I don't know if it's because it's late at night. Maybe this movie wasn't that good. I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah, so, and that's one of the other things about this podcast in general, is that taking into account our mood and level of sobriety and just general, like, life vibes when we watch these movies really affects us, because we watch the movie and we record right away. We don't really get to think about
No, it's
anything.
literally like 10 minutes after, so we can compile our notes. But I don't know, I felt watching the whole movie, I felt like kind of like you feel like when you're a little kid watching a movie, like joyful.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, this is like fun. Like, the movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a very fun movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So, what's your rating?
So I wrote it down, and then, like, as we were talking, I'm like, no, I'm going to give it this. I'm like, no, stick to your original rating.
Yeah, because you've done that to me before.
No, I have never changed my rating.
No, but I have tried, and you'd be like, no.
Yeah, so I am giving this a 78%.
Ooh. So you probably downgraded it for length, because otherwise it sounds like you really liked it.
No, I did, and that was really the main thing, is I was like, and I'm trying to be, like, really, like, not tough, but, like, in order for something to be, like, in the 90s, it has to be, like, a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's fair. So I gave it a 72.
Oh, okay.
Basically knocked it down just for length and for a few confusing scenes. But I really did like it a lot. So what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes critics score is?
It's got to be in the 50s. Because I feel kind of a little biased, because I did remember when this movie came out, because it was in 2013, wasn't that long ago, and I remember that it didn't get very good reviews, because it wasn't in the theaters for that long. So I'm going to say 50%.
Okay, so it's 31.
These people are crazy. It's way better than 31.
I agree. I think most of the 31 stems from Johnny Depp not being Native American and that bothering the critics. The audience score
probably
is
true.
51.
Okay. It's a little
better. So that's a little more fair, and I could still see that, because it's a super, super long movie that can be painful to watch.
It is super long. Okay. It's my favorite
So,
part.
yeah.
It's my favorite part.
Now it's time. Now it's time to find out what we're going to watch next week. Kelly is dying with excitement.
Guys, did you ever watch 24 on TV where it's like, do, 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 do?
Do.
That's like
So-
what the music in my head right
So Kelly is dying with excitement.
I am dying, actually. And I'm sitting on the floor, and so I'm old, and my legs are kind of getting uncomfortable also, so I'm excited to stand up. But also, I really want to know what it is.
Okay, so it's 2:39,
Okay.
which is...
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Better be a
Kelly,
good one.
You're going to be so excited.
Wait, no, I'm scared. What is it?
The Emperor's New Groove.
Shut up! You are lying.
No, I'm not.
Oh my god, you're lying.
No.
David, wait,
No,
wait,
The
you're
Emperor's
lying.
New Groove.
This
That's
is
what it
one of
is.
my favorite Disney movies. You
And
are.
I have no idea.
I want to cry right now. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. This is such a good movie. I'm so excited.
So The Emperor's
Da,
New
da, da, da,
Groove,
da.
the year 2000, I have like a vague idea from
Oh my gosh.
commercials about it being like
Oh, I'm so excited.
hip-hoppy and
No.
somebody being like dancing.
No.
Other than that, though, I have no clue what the hell this
Oh my
movie's
gosh.
about.
Whew, I'm like hyperventilating. I'm so excited.
So this will be a completely different episode of At the Disney Movies with the Hearts because it's one that Kelly's seen and David has not.
And it's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Disney movies ever. It is in my top 5 favorite Disney movies of all time.
Wow. So I guess we already know what Kelly's score's going to be.
Well, but here's the thing though. I haven't watched it for like 10 years. So maybe it's not as good as I remember,
Yeah.
but I'm really excited.
Maybe. So until next week.
Like I have genuine joy on my face right now.
Yeah, no, I see it. I see it big time. But until next week, I'm David,
I'm Kelly.
and this has been At the Disney Movies with the Hearts. Bye!
Oh, Lily's gonna sound check.
Yeah, she does.
Lily, do a sound check.
What do you have to say, puppy, huh?